All right, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. Before I bring in today's project, I just brought this guy in. This guy I just pruned and wired 2 months ago. It was completely bare. And just at the beginning clip there, that was before I went in and just kind of clipped off a bunch of the downward growth and some of the crotch growth. Usually something I wouldn't make a video for, but I just thought this guy's looking exceptionally well with small leaves. And it just recovering from its recent wiring. All right, and here is the project for the day. Sometimes when I look at this project here, this project, I can't find any early pictures from this project at all. It was, from what I remember, I had 2 cuttings in the same pot, and the other one was really taking off, getting lots of new growth, and this one, had like 1 or 2 leaves on it. And so I remember I wanted to leave the other one in the pot, and I pulled this one out, and what was there, which at that time was just, some of this, really looked horrible. And I happened to have a pot with an old rock sitting there, and I remember throwing it down there and just thinking, well, if it makes it, it makes it. And, sure enough, it made it. For years, I really wasn't, I didn't like it at all. I'm starting to like the looks of it from this side now. When I get it cleaned up in a minute, you guys will be able to see a lot more. Sometimes when you've got something and you're just like a little unsure what it is I'm going to do with this piece of material here, really, man, sometimes the best thing to do is just let it grow. And even though it's still not exactly an ideal, display or anything like that, certainly picked up some character with the roots kind of dripping down the front here, and then just trunking it up and getting a big trunk. That really does make a difference. But let's move in a little closer, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to defoliate the whole thing, prune all the branches I don't want off, more than likely get some wire on it, but I'm just going to kind of wait and see what it looks like when I get in here. Alright, I experimented with a little bit of a different angle for you guys there. Tree's just in such an awkward position. It seemed like my normal angle I shoot it from, all you could really see was the underneath of a bunch of leaves. You may have noticed as I got towards this side of the tree, I kind of started defoliating a little less aggressively, mainly just because I decided that I've been trying to treat some of my trees a little bit differently and defoliate, allow them some of the growth to grow out a little more than I was before. Give me a little more wire and just kind of letting the trees spread out a little more than I usually would. But this one here, I decided to kind of go back to my old ways here, and I'm just going to go ahead and clip all these growing tips off. Some of these little twigs are so long, no taper at all. And I've had, with this type of Microcarpa, as I've tried to wire before, I've had some of these branches even break on me. And so I'm just going to allow this one to strengthen it a little bit more. Because I have kind of gone with the just allow it to get much bigger for more character, I can just do that for a little bit longer. I did just go back and look through the records, some of my videos, just to see how long it's been in this pot and stuff. And Mr. Green, a guy that I worked with, said that we should call this one Vincent Van Gogh. Him and his students used to watch my videos. I don't know if they still do or not. If they do, hopefully they're watching now. Not much to look at for now, but let some of these twigs get some good back buds on them, and then just let it go for at least this season, maybe even a little bit longer. Trying to get some of the taperless ones back cut a little more than the ones that have some taper. Beginning of the growing season here, should recover quickly. Alright, that didn't take as long as I thought it would. So, I've been thinking about doing a quick little update on this guy here. This is a, I call them my quarantine cuttings. I took a bunch of cuttings. They were probably about as thick as the trunk is right up here with a saw. I think it was about maybe 10, 11 of them. It was during the lockdown of COVID and everything. And I put them all in one bucket. This is actually the last one I harvested. I harvested this one 2 years ago. Started this root over rock project. This is a little more of an upright root over rock project. Most of mine are kind of like laying down where the rock is laying down. This one I was able to get in a taller pot and a little bit more of a skinnier rock. Maybe just for a different display, so it looks a little different than some of my other projects do. I'm gonna cut probably about that much of the pot off today and just see what's going on. This thing did get broken in the hurricane, and at this point I don't even remember if it was, which way it was blown over. I do remember I had to have it tied back on there for a little while. I had a rock holding it in place on top, and since then I've just been letting it grow, gain as much energy as possible in the hopes that the root is going to go ahead and get a hold of it. And the reason why I'm going to expose a little bit is just to make sure that things didn't get really ugly down here and it's like a project I should just give up on or something. But you can see a lot of these little branches, just dozens and dozens of leaves on them. And I've just been, like I said, letting it grow out, gain a bunch of health. I'm not going to give it a hard prune by any means, but I do want to get just some of these interior leaves out, mainly so I can just see and take out any really unwanted branching. I mean, I've got this long one growing out that way as a sacrifice branch, so I'll be leaving a lot of growth that isn't going to be part of any kind of final look. These little sprouts down here, I would usually clean those out. But growing right at the nabari with trying to do a root over a rock like this, they should really help push some extra roots, so I'm going to leave those. I've got about 5 or 6 more of these cuttings that I took. They are really starting to thicken up out there, but I've got them in that horrible organic substrate that I started them in. I think I might harvest another one during spring break here in a minute. And one more week of school, and then we got spring break coming up. Alright, so that's pretty much how I prune it when I'm thinking I'm just going to try to save as much energy as possible. Just took off some inner leaves and got rid of the crotch growth and straight down growth and whatnot. Now I've got it in this little tub now. So I want to try to save and reuse some of this substrate that's just been on top. I think this might be one of my only root over rock projects that I've started completely in good substrate. I mean, the idea is, I do see a lot of people on a lot of the beginner forums talk about how you can grow bonsai in any substrate, and you really can, pot soil, whatever. But when you use substrate that is meant for the hobby, when you do things like this, when I cut this away some, I'm not going to go very far today, but again, all that substrate should just fall away because it doesn't cling to it like the organic based stuff does. And really, trees make their food with photosynthesis, the sun, air, water. Fertilizer helps, and I do use fertilizer. But people think that the tree actually feeds off of the organic substrate. It grows in it just fine, but it'll cling to it, get stuck to it, and you can't really clean it off the roots. Just some of the reasons why I do use the better substrate. All right, already a break here in the pot. I abuse these things and then I just buy a new one every now and again. The rim on this pot seems to be tough. There we go. There, it just broke apart some. All right, that pot was a little more brittle than I thought it would be. And of course I used just an old nursery bucket in the idea that I could just cut it down one day. It's got 4 or 5 kind of delicate looking roots going over the rock like you would want to here. Then there's about 3 really good healthy roots coming over the rock there. And then this one kind of grew outside of it a little. And since it's still such a young project, and I've got all this growth, I left these 2 here. That should really help fatten up that Nabari a little bit. But since I left so much momentum going up here, so much foliage and everything, I have no problem taking this guy off. And then the idea here is I'll just put this guy back out there and let Mother Nature finish cleaning it up a little bit. This pot, whether it holds up or not, the rock holds itself up well on its own. Kind of sitting in its own used substrate there.